Hare Krishna, all devotees. Welcome back to the second session, day 2 of Gita Mahatmya. As I requested yesterday as well, it would be nice if all of you can turn on the video if it is going to permit or allow you. So, based on your circumstances. Thank you so much. So, let me start off with a small invocation prayer. It's always nice to remember and pray to all the great acharyas and the Supreme Lord himself. So I'll just start off with a small prayer. Om Ajnana Thimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangun Langayate Grimyat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So yesterday we had the session where we saw the first verse of Gita Mahatmya. Gita Mahatmya, as I mentioned yesterday, is a work done by Sripad Adi Sankaracharya. So today we will continue with the second verse. Just to give a short recap, yesterday's verse was all about the importance of studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita. What is the outcome of studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita? So basically, we can overcome all our miseries, and ultimately we can attain the Vaikuntha, the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So often we understand that there is something called religion, and we also have something else called philosophy, right? So both religion and philosophy are equally important. One without the other is going to not yield the full result. Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, oftentimes he says that religion without philosophy, so it is only a sentiment. When somebody practices religion and he doesn't know what the philosophy behind that religion is, it's only a sentiment. Whereas philosophy without religion, it is only mental speculation. I may be a great philosopher, right? I can write my own philosophy in beautiful English or Sanskrit language. But if it doesn't have a proper religious backing, then it is only a mere mental speculation. Such mental speculation will not be acceptable for people in general. Prabhupada often quotes one nice story, the story from West Bengal, where apparently in a family they conducted a wedding, and the girl who was about to be married, she was taken to the marriage hall, and in the marriage hall there was one little cat which was running here and there, disturbing the whole marriage ceremony. So the mother of the bride, what she did, she took one rope, she tied the cat to a table in the corner of the marriage hall, and the marriage was conducted peacefully. The cat was not disturbing the marriage. So this story was narrated by the girl who got married, she narrated this story to her child, and apparently when the child grew up, she misunderstood the whole reason why the cat was tied. What she did, when her marriage was about to happen, so at that time her mother was no longer there, she passed away. So she made sure that she went and bought a cat, and she tied the cat in a table within the campus of the marriage hall, and she let the marriage ceremony happen. She wrongly misunderstood that for a marriage ceremony in Bengal to happen, we need to have a cat, right? So this is called superstition. So, or a sentimental belief. Often, in various religious systems, we often find that people behave in a weird way, which is contrary to what is prescribed in the philosophical texts, right? So that's why great emphasis is given for someone to practice religion in accordance to an acceptable philosophy. And what more can we get from the Bhagavad Gita is unimaginable, right? You cannot comprehend the kind of philosophy which is given in Bhagavad Gita. So we know that there are 4 Vedas: the Rig Veda, Yajur, Sama, and Atharvana Veda, and we also have Upanishads. Right? There are 108 Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is profoundly termed as Gita Upanishad. Right? It is the king of all Upanishads. It is compared like this. All the 4 Vedas, the Vedas are quite vast. It is compared to an ocean, or it is compared to a forest, right? Big Amazon forest, where you have n number of trees, huge trees, right? So if you have to understand the Vedas, it is quite impossible. But the Upanishads, they are actually compared to nice blossoming and aromatic flowers which come out of the huge trees. Nice flowers. And if you pluck all these flowers and you make a wonderful garland, so that garland, which consists of all nice aromatic flowers, so that is nothing but the Gita Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita. So this goes to show how important it is, especially for us, the Hindus who are born in India, to understand this wonderful philosophical text called Srimad Bhagavad Gita and try to realize what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and practically apply it in our own life. Right. So with that understanding, we will begin today's session. I'm going to share my screen. So yesterday we saw the first verse. Today we are going to see the second verse. I humbly request all of you to kindly be present on all the 7 days. It's definitely going to be useful for all of you. As I mentioned, whether it is a child or a youngster or an older person. So Bhagavad Gita is for all. So I request all of you to please join and attend the session attentively. If possible, you can even take notes. And then at the end of the 7th session, we will have a small MCQ, multi-choice questions quiz. So it's not something to evaluate your understanding. So basically, the MCQ test is for you to understand how much you understood the session. Nothing to evaluate or give marks per se, but so this is something which we have decided, and pay attention to these sessions and try to attend the quiz at the end of the 7th session. That's my humble request. So we will begin the second session today. Hope you all can see the screen. Thumbs up would do. Screen is visible? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so as usual, we will take the darshan of Shri Radha Krishna and Lalita Vishakha. So these are the companions of Shri Radha Krishna. We will pay obeisances, respectful obeisances to them, and we will pray to them that let the sessions that we are trying to see today, let that be understandable to us, and let's try to implement whatever we listen to in today's session. So we welcome to these day 2s of the Gita Mahatmya course. I'll straight away jump into the verse number 2. So let me recite this verse slowly, and you can recite in a muted state. So there is nothing wrong in pronouncing these verses improperly. We will make our utmost effort trying to pronounce it properly, but Krishna is not going to shoot us if we improperly pronounce these verses. Rather, he is going to be very happy that somebody is honestly trying to recite these verses which are glorifying Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Right? So we will make our humble effort. If there are any mispronunciations, let that not be counted. So we'll pray to the Lordship. Gita Adhyayana Shilasya Pranayama Parasya Cha Naiva Santi Hi Papani Purva Janma Kritani Cha Gita Adhyayana Shilasya Pranayama Parasya Cha Naiva Santi Hi Papani Purva Janma Kritani Cha. So as usual, one of you can raise your hand and recite the translation. Who want to recite? Okay, so I'll unmute Lakshmi Venkat Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So take a note of the underlined words, which are very important. So if one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, so sincerity and seriousness is very important. It doesn't matter whether somebody knows Sanskrit or not, whether he is a Pandit or not, it doesn't really matter. So let us put our sincere and serious effort trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Right? Yesterday we saw how not just reciting the Bhagavad Gita verses would do, we need to read and understand the translation and purport of Bhagavad Gita, which is very, very important. Right? We are not like parrots. Parrots, when they hear to any sound, it has the capability to repeat it. Right? So Srila Prabhupada says we should not be like parrot reciters. Not taking anything to the heart, but just merely reciting. So that will not do. We need to understand the translation as well as the commentaries from great acharyas. So that is going to transform our life. So if we put our sincere and serious effort, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him. the reactions of the past misdeeds. So we know this, Punya and Papa Karma. We are going to see in the upcoming slides as well. By the mercy of Lord, because the Supreme Lord Krishna, whom we saw yesterday as well, he is someone who possesses 6 opulences in full. Aishwaryasya samagrasya Viryasya yasasashriyaha. So he is the possessor of all wealth, Aishwarya, Virya. He is the possessor of all power. He is very powerful. Yasasa, which means he is all famous, right? So he's famous across the globe, not just in this planet, but in all the universes. Shriyaha, which means he is all beautiful. And he also has all knowledge, jnana. And at last, Vairagya. So in spite of possessing all these opulences, he is all renounced. Right? So we saw the example how in the battlefield he was driving as a chariot driver. Right? So he is the possessor of all the opulences, and he has the capability to destroy all our sins. Right? So that is possible only when from our side we put our sincere and serious effort, which is what we are all trying to do by attending these courses. Okay, so we also need to see the often misquoted verses or captions from the Bhagavad Gita. It is important to sincerely, seriously understand Bhagavad Gita, but we should not end up in the wrong hands. Oftentimes in India, if you see, there are so many religious institutions, and we also have many spiritual organizations, so-called spiritual organizations, which are giving their own philosophical understanding, oftentimes which are given for their own material benefit. Right? If you see any spiritual organization, the first thing that they would be interested in is how I can get some money out of the person joining this organization. Whereas a real spiritual organization is something which is interested only to uplift all the people in general without any discrimination. Without any discrimination based on caste or creed. Trying to uplift everyone to the highest platform of understanding the Supreme Lord. Right? So we need to be very careful and choosy as to whom we are trying to take guidance from. So these are some of the misquoted verses or quotations from Bhagavad Gita. Somebody says that man is made by his belief. As he believes, so he is. So this is not a statement at all which you can find in Bhagavad Gita. Right? Prabhupada says there is a famous verse in Bengali, Etomat Tatopat. Whatever I feel is right, and I will follow that. Right? So that is not correct. You need to follow the scriptural injunctions, the right philosophy which is given by the Supreme Lord. Not follow something which you like or which you believe. And we also have the famous Gita Charam. I'm not sure how many of you can understand Tamil, but just to elaborate, this is the famously quoted Gita Charam, which you cannot find anywhere in Bhagavad Gita. It says that whatever has happened for good. Whatever is happening for good. Whatever has to happen in the future will happen for good. There are 700 plus verses in Bhagavad Gita. In none of the verse you can find this statement. If you don't fight for what you want, don't cry for what you lost. So these are typical the corporate management quotations, apparently extracted from Bhagavad Gita, but you cannot find this anywhere in Bhagavad Gita, right? So if you are sincere and serious, then you need to find Bhagavad Gita, which is commentated by an authorized source. Authorized source meaning someone who is coming from a bona fide sampradaya, originating from the Supreme Lord Krishna. Only then it will be acceptable. Problem is in Kali Yuga, in modern times, people wanted to be cheated. So that's why they are going after cheaters who are happy to cheat. So if our intentions are good, if our intentions are to understand Bhagavad Gita, internalize it and practice it in our life, rather than only aspiring for some cheap material benefit, then Krishna, who is sitting in all our heart as Paramatma, he will guide us to a proper source of knowledge. I can guaranteedly say that all these quotations are not coming from proper source. That's why we need to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. In the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, his original intention was not to write commentaries for Bhagavad Gita. He searched in the English language many Bhagavad Gita editions, but unfortunately, in none of the editions, the author gave out the message as it was originally spoken by the Lord. Rather, in all these Bhagavad Gita editions, he only found concocted versions, concocted by the author of that book. Right? So that's why Srila Prabhupada termed it as Bhagavad Gita as it is. In Hindi, it is called as Yatharup. So when we sincerely study Bhagavad Gita as it is, since it is an authorized source, Krishna is going to help us. I will give you one example. So this is just an example verse extracted from Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is not so easy for someone to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. So even translating the verse from Bhagavad Gita is also quite difficult. Because for one reason, Bhagavad Gita was spoken in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is quite contextually based, meaning one particular word in a verse can give different meanings. It doesn't only require Sanskrit grammar knowledge, but it also requires a lot of devotion. If somebody is really a devotee of the Supreme Lord, then the Lord will reveal the real meaning of that verse. Just as an example, I am quoting this verse 6.5. I'll just read this verse. Udharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadhayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanah. It may be like a tongue twister, right? The word atma is coming many times. But based on the context, the term atma means different meaning. Right? If you see here, udharet, one must deliver, atmana, by the mind. The next word, atmanam, refers to conditioned soul. In one context, it refers to the mind. In the other context, it refers to the soul. If we have a very layman understanding of Sanskrit, then we won't be able to understand the real meaning of this verse. Right? Like that, in the further context as well, Atma refers to mind and Atmanaha refers to the conditioned soul. Right? So, that is why we require an Acharya. Acharya is someone who not only understands the scriptures, but he is also practicing what is mentioned in the scripture. Srila Prabhupada was not just a Sanskrit scholar. He was more than that. He was a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. That's why he is able to extract the exact meaning out of this verse. So this is just an example. So that's why we need to sincerely and seriously study Bhagavad Gita. What does it mean? I will give you one short example. So this is a very famous example of a South Indian Brahmana in Srirangam. This incident happened 500 years back. So I hope many of you have gone to Srirangam, the famous Ranganatha Swami temple in Srirangam. 500 years back, Lord Chaitanya. Who was Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya was the Supreme Lord Krishna himself, who advented 500 years back in a place called Mayapur. So this place is even now there in the state of West Bengal. That's the place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born. He was the one who actually propagated this Krishna consciousness movement. The Lord himself appeared as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he gave this wonderful Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when he traveled around the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu, at that time he went to Srirangam, he met a South Indian Brahmana who was an illiterate. But he had immense faith in his spiritual master's words. His spiritual master requested him to study Bhagavad Gita, though he did not understand anything from that book. So what he was doing, he was reading, he opened that book upside down. He did not even know what is the right way to read that book. He was looking into it upside down, but he was profusely crying like anything. All the other Brahmanas assembled in that place, they started laughing, looking at this person. How illiterate is this person, but he is attempting to study Bhagavad Gita. What is he going to understand? He doesn't know Sanskrit. He doesn't know anything at all. Right? So they were just profusely laughing at this person. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to that place and he saw that this person was trying to study Bhagavad Gita. He kept it upside down, but he was profusely crying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "Why are you crying?" So then this Brahmana said, "I don't know anything from Bhagavad Gita, but then when I look into the cover page of Bhagavad Gita, I can see that the Supreme Lord, who is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation, he is sitting here as a chariot driver, driving for his devotee Arjuna. So when I look into this picture, I automatically tend to profusely cry because I cannot comprehend how merciful the Supreme Lord can be. If you become a sincere devotee of the Lord can go to the fullest extent, even to the extent of driving his devotee. So just looking into this picture, I automatically started to cry because I was so moved. Here in this statement from this Brahmana, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are the one who correctly understood Bhagavad Gita." Right? So here the person did not understand Sanskrit. He has no knowledge of the scriptures, but he was sincerely putting his effort with all seriousness trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. So that knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord himself. Right? In the Srimad Bhagavatam as well, it is said, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. The Lord, who is sitting in the heart of Lord Brahma, he revealed the knowledge of Vedas. So that's how the Vedas came. So these scriptural knowledge, these philosophical knowledge, we cannot merely understand by studying the scripture. It also requires the mercy of the Lord. Of course, it requires our sincere and serious effort as well. So based on that sincere and serious effort, the Lord is going to reveal this knowledge. So that is something which we can understand from this beautiful pastime which is mentioned in a book called Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it is not just that in olden times we see personalities who understood Srimad Bhagavad Gita and they got benefited. No, this is happening even in the present day as well. I will give you one present day example which happened in the past few years. It happened in New Jersey, a place in the US. There was a hotel called Ramada Inn. As the name sounds, it's a hotel belonging to somebody who practiced Islam, and this was a chain of hotel. Even you can find in India as well, I believe. So in this hotel, a devotee who was practicing Krishna consciousness, who approached the manager of this hotel and requested him, if you can take few copies of Bhagavad Gita, you can place those books in your hotel so that people who come and visit your hotel, they get benefited. Why don't you take some books? So then the manager said, no, we are not supposed to take Bhagavad Gita because we don't believe in your religion. So you please go away. We are not interested in Bhagavad Gita. So then this devotee tried to convince this manager so much, but he was not willing to listen. So what he did, he took one Bhagavad Gita, and the manager was not aware. He Thank you, thanks Mataji. I'm sorry, I may not be able to unmute others. It's already 9 o'clock. So we will hear from Saudamini Chandra Mataji probably next session. You can share your thoughts before we begin the next session. Thank you so much. Thanks all for patiently hearing. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all. So I'm just ending this session here. Hare Krishna.